Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. We are continuing our space adventure, which we may want to call it an Earth adventure, because we are now on Earth. Alright, so we finally landed on Earth with some issues. Luckily, nothing crazy, as you may have seen in the last episode. But now it's time to search for that cobalt and start drilling for cobalt, and as much as we can, of course, so we can fill up our ship with as much metal grids as we can and technically or probably never come back here again. Couple of things I might need to do. One is to add some atmospheric thrusters to this large grid ship so then we can get out of the atmosphere and use the rest of the hydrogen thrusters to pull us out of the gravity field itself. But right now it is a little difficult to travel with the ship on Earth because in order to fly it, I have to angle it a little bit diagonal. So if I were to turn on all my thrusters and my landing gear off and I power it on, we go up, but we spend so much hydrogen and it's gonna slightly hold it up for a bit. But if we have more, I think if our cargo is filled, which was probably the initial problem, is that my cargo was filled with ice. It was so heavy that the whole entire ship started dipping without being able to float like this at all. Right now it seems to be holding well because we are not as heavy, but you can see our hydrogen thruster is fully extended to the max just to hold the ship up on its own. So what we're gonna do is, luckily we can fly to a point where we can find cobalt, and of course if you look ahead I have a GPS marker as cobalt, so off camera I went ahead and did that without having to make you guys sit through and search for the cobalt itself. So what I did is basically the same thing as I always did. You see those white little markings? That's the ore markings, and I just went around with my person and flew around the area just to find the specific spots for the ores itself. Alright, so instead of turning this big large grid ship into a drilling machine, what I'm going to do is actually going to use a smaller one, the small grid ship. Because it has a ton of atmospheric thrusters already, I can easily convert the welders into drills and start using that to collect the cobalt that's down there. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and maybe add a little bit more upward thrusters too, because it only has 4 upward thrusters and that might not be enough to carry all that weight. So first things first, let's get rid of these welders. And now we're going to add the drills. Alright, so we're done with that, and we had to switch the conveyor junction oh so slightly just to make sure the cockpit is connected to my cargo containers here. So I just need to add a few more thrusters. I think I need to add my backwards thrusters back and a few more upward thrusters really quick. Alright, so that's all set and done. So we have 2 drills in front. We added back the backward thruster, added 1 more just in case, and added 6 more upward thrusters just to keep this thing afloat. This thing is not the most great looking design, but it's functional. So that's the main point of this. So let's detach this off the big ship really quickly. And it flies pretty well. It's got 4 hours of power, so that's good too. But what we generally want to do is make sure everything thruster wise is connected properly. Alright, so in most cases I would say I would add like a brake and gas in these situations so it's easier to save power and everything like that. But we're going very small distances with this, so I'm not going to set it to have any brake or gas. But I do need to set the block tools of the drills so I can right click and left click using my mouse to do the drilling here. So left click to attain, right click to make bigger holes or mining holes. So we already know where the cobalt is, so we're going to go right to it, get to the cobalt, and based on what I can see from the ship, it is located on that side, 100 something meters that way. And initially I found a bit here. So let's see if the ship can rotate downwards. Perfect. Actually, it can. Not the best thing to do, but it can work. So I'm going to right click and hold and start drilling down a pretty big hole so that my ship could fit down here. So I'm making a pretty big hole, as you can see here. And my ship is going to fit perfectly fine. And I'm going to go slowly because I don't want to lose Cobalt by doing this. And this is just to make the space so I can come down to it slowly. So hopefully there's some directly down here as I marked it previously, unless I marked it incorrectly, which is 100% possible. So we're going to keep doing this. Oh, camera changed a bit because I'm a little low. Let me turn on my own lights, personal lights. So that's coming from my spacesuit, and because I have no lights connected into this ship itself. But now I can see where the Cobalt is. So what I want to do is probably flatten out a little bit and start making a slightly bigger hole, like upwards. So then that way I can maneuver around and not have to really like be using my ship going downwards as I started coming down that way. So I'm gonna make a big enough hole. Maybe I'm gonna come down a little bit more, but not wasting any of the Cobalt. I'm gonna drill on the other side so that I can go a little bit more horizontal than being more vertical in my orientation of my ship. It looks like there's Cobalt there. Let me grind here down a little bit. There, perfect. So now I want to be kind of horizontal or parallel to the surface. So now I definitely have the space to do so, and I can start drilling for all this Cobalt. So I'm not sure what the limitations are going to be on the ship in terms of the atmospheric thrusters, but it might be able to carry a full load, maybe. Well, Cobalt I don't believe is too heavy, so let's see what happens. Alright, so it didn't take long without drilling to pretty much almost fill up our cargo space. So our cargo is completely filled with stone and Cobalt, as you see here. Our drills are not completely filled up, so we probably want to try to get that filled up before we start going. So I'm gonna take a look at our weight here on the bottom right. It looks like we got about 61,000 kgs so far, which isn't too bad. We're still be able to float and fly a bit, so that's great. So let's take a look just in case at our drills, and we're almost completely filled out. So I'm assuming we have about probably 66,000 kgs to really, or maybe 70, to really fill out the whole entire ship. Yep. We're not there just yet. Alright, so we are pretty much completely filled. So it looks like we have about 69,000 kgs to really reach the limit of this drilling ship. So that's a good indicator to know that, and look, it still flies well, picks up, and everything like that. We are being fully extended though with the thrusters, so that's not a good sign. But luckily, we still maneuver pretty well with this, so we should be okay. Alright, so slowing down is a little bit harder to do, and it looks like we need more batteries to start moving all these thrusters as well. But we're in good shape. We have a ton of Cobalt and some stone that came with it apparently. The stone I could probably junk and try to get more Cobalt, but you know, it's fine. We're just gonna connect here and distribute our Cobalt and stone to the big ship. And that way we can start refining our Cobalt that we definitely are in need of, basically. So let's move everything out of the current ship, and it should automatically do it unless there's no room, but luckily I was able to do so quickly and easily. The biggest thing, one of the biggest tip I would say is click on this filter, show only inventories of the current ship. That way you know that's your current small ship that's connected to your large good ship, or maybe even a base. So you can toss everything out of here into your base or ship, It should do it automatically, but if it doesn't, this filter is like the most helpful thing in the world. So in my ship itself, we are out of ice. So of course that's probably why my ship was able to fly a little bit. So before we do anything further or go anywhere further, I would probably have to get to ice. Luckily, I landed near an ice lake here, so then I could gather that to get more oxygen, more hydrogen, and everything like that. So I probably left the hydrogen engine on, so I just killed all my ice. We got a bit of cobalt using our small grid ship, but it is taking kind of a long time to use this guy to dig for cobalt. So I think what we should do, instead of making a drilling rig that's going to be left down here on Earth, I might build an attachment for this ship in the back where it can connect to this connector. So that's just an idea. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but definitely going to give it a try and see how that looks. So let me get that started, and I'll be right back from there. Alright, I am back, and let me show you quickly what we had done here. So during the time lapse, you saw that we created some kind of mining attachment, and that thing is this. So basically it's built off of a landing gear, a piston going up, a piston going horizontally, and 3 pistons going down with 4 drills. So with that, we have 1 large cargo, some solar panels, batteries, a control seat, and also a connector. So it's a very simple attachment, I should say, and a very simple drilling rig. And basically, just going in circles a little bit was enough to fill the whole entire large cargo. So the main reason why I came to the ice lake first is because my ship is completely empty from hydrogen. Not necessarily completely, but very low on hydrogen. It took a bit to get here. It was a bit of a risk. And I am struggling. I'm struggling on Earth. It's really, really bad because of the atmosphere and the amount of ice it takes to run hydrogen thrusters here compared to like space. So we're probably not going to stay here for too long. We did get a whole bunch of metal grids. And you'll see that here in our large cargo. So we got freaking 4,000 or so metal grids, close to 5,000. I think that will last us not a lifetime, but a good chunk of it. So being on Earth did help me get the cobalt. I still have a lot to refine, and I have a lot of nickel to refine too, which we were in short supply of as well. So right now the ship definitely needs some ice. As you see here, 1,500. We're gonna have to find a way to connect this ship onto the mining rig again. I wish it was a little easier to kind of dock onto this, but I did make it a little bit longer than what it was before, so that I don't damage much things here, and I don't have cameras on it, so that really sucks. Alright, so we can connect. Perfect. And when we connect, we can actually turn off all our thrusters, and it's actually being held up by the landing gear itself, which is pretty good. Kind of strange, but it works out. And if I did want to, I could bring this whole thing down with it. Alright, so to speed things up, I did create a few more O2 H2 generators back here, or in the bottom of the ship. So 2 here and 2 on the other side. Got rid of 2 vents and left the vent up here instead. Well, 1 is more than enough. So right now it's unpressurized. I think I left the door open. And yes, I did. And of course, like I said, I'm struggling on Earth. I literally ran out of hydrogen. Not too high, fell down and pretty much died. So yeah, it's kind of that kind of situation now. But once I close the door, we should be pressurized. Yeah, fully pressurized. Everything's working fine. And we should be getting hydrogen a lot quicker. So this hydrogen is filling up 30%. I kind of wish I had another one so it could store more power, but it should be okay. And let's see. We're at 35%. Not too bad. Still waiting for it to get a little bit more so that we can fly out of here and get some more cobalt and potentially nickel. Nickel I can get elsewhere, but since I already know where it is, I can just mine for it easily. So while we wait for that, let's work on this attachment. Alright, so I got it all set up and I'm just trying to test to see how deep the drill's gonna go with the current setup, and I think I need to speed it up just a hair. Alright, so we have them set at 0.2 velocity, so that should be a little bit faster. And with 2 pistons, let's see how deep it goes to kind of judge if we can grab like cobalt, nickel. I think it should. More than fine, I believe. Because that doesn't have to be that deep. So we have fully extended our system, and we might be able to do it. I'm not too sure actually. It seems a little too low, but I mean we already have this all drilled out, so Alright, so so it's definitely not enough for it to go down, which is a little bit sad. Damn it. So what I gotta do is actually make it a little bit different. Instead of having it go up from the landing gear, I probably want to raise it at a different spot. And that's gonna require me to take apart some stuff which I do not want. So how can I do this? Another way is to actually just, you know, break the floor down and put the landing gear down and grab the cobalt. I'm actually down and missing by I think 4 blocks, which is about, you know, a regular piston length. So that did not work out as planned, which is fine. We should get a lot of stone, which is helpful. So let's do this. Cobalts we have more than enough of. So let's bring this back up and let's throw it to the nickel spot. Alright, perfect. So it's able to grab the nickel pretty much to its full potential, as you see there. And it's more than enough. So it grabbed everything downwards. So the best part about this is that I do have a bit of a rotational thing here. So as you see here, let me take a look at this. So grinding or drilling downwards straight, it doesn't make any sense because all you're doing is getting stone. And you see that the nickel is like in a circular pattern or on a sideways pattern. So you have to kind of tilt your drills and everything like just to get all of it out. And that's why I planned for the rotor over there. So with the rotor, that way we can kind of spin it to the left or right and continue to drill from there. So what I have set up is on the toolbar to have the velocity go positive and negative, so I can easily spin it really quickly. I do have the ship attached to it, so I'm not sure if it's going to be able to do it, but let's give it a shot anyways. Ah, it is able to spin it ever so slightly, so that's not too bad. I can make it probably spin a little bit faster if I wanted to. Nope, it's way too heavy. So it's just going to spin probably at 3 RPMs on its own. And once I get it positioned in the spot that I want it, so that it's likely going to be a little bit more angled, probably like a 45 degree, closer to, or between 45 and 90 degrees is what I want. And then we can start going back down for the drill. And we are getting kind of close. We just grabbed a whole bunch of nickel right there, which is perfect. So now we just got to do the same thing with the cobalt. So let's let it go back up, and I'll just redesign this really quickly. Alright, so we have it all completed. So this is the end product here. And what we did, we're just going to bring it 3 up and altered it slightly so we can have a little bit more depth, or yeah, a little more depth or length to go down, basically. So it is looking a little bit more awkward than usual, but it's perfectly fine. And for sure, this is not touching the floor, which is perfectly planned, exactly how I wanted it. And it's at least a block or 2 off the ground. I think 2 blocks off the ground, which is not too bad. I think this is going to be perfect for our gathering of cobalt. Alright, so I think we did, we kind of scratched the surface of the cobalt. I mean, how far is this really? It kind of looks like we're off by like 2 meters, to be honest, and that's a little crappy. Yeah. So we're a little off by, I think, 2 meters or so just to grab the cobalt. Not ideal, but what I can do is something I don't want to do is unlock. Yeah, that's exactly what I didn't really care to do, but that was probably my solution to go a little bit deeper just to get the cobalt. Am I that desperate for cobalt? Yeah, a little bit. So now we definitely gained some cobalt. Probably not a lot, but it's gonna be more than I have, which is great. Okay, so about 2k worth of cobalt, and I don't think we can get any deeper, can we? No, we can't get any deeper, but that's like almost perfect. We technically just needed like 1 more block down, and then that would have been perfect. To get more cobalt. So is there a solution for this? I'm not sure. I think the solution, if I had to do it, would be to make it 1 more block lower, or 2 more blocks lower. I think we have room for 1 more block lower. Alright, so drills are done. We're 1 level lower, or 1 block lower, so then we should be almost perfect for the drilling, basically. And perfect. We are definitely drilling down to the cobalt, and we're getting a little bit more. And I think we're getting just enough where it's actually gonna grind down to the point of stone. Yeah, so it's got the layer that I want, perfect length that I want. And what I need to do is kind of maneuver this around a bit to get the rest of the cobalt. So I can easily do what I did before, and that's bring it back up and rotate it, or I can fly the ship and move it backwards or forwards to get more. But that's the idea of the attachment. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but this is what's going to help me get the cobalt and nickel that I need and get out of here as quickly as possible, because being on Earth with this kind of ship, quite the struggle. I do have the metal grids to make more atmospheric thrusters, but I want to save that for something else. So I think the next thing to do is bring everything up into space. Start making a space station between Earth and Moon. And that will be my first completed mission for the space series, because that's the ultimate goal. It's to make those space stations near each moon and planet. So I want to start with Earth and Moon. I'll move to Mars and Europa next, and eventually go to Titan and the alien planet. We'll create 3 different space stations and see how that goes and make it all functional. I do want to add some drones so that if I'm having to get Cobalt, I'm going to have a drone in the space station to go down on Earth, grab what we can in terms of Cobalt, and come back up into the space station. Alright, so I am likely going to continue the mining off camera just to get as much as I can. And when I come back, it's time for us to launch ourselves out of here and get into space. Alright, so we are going to end it there. We made a lot of improvements by making this attachment to drill for cobalt, nickel, ice, and once we have all that collected, we can start our space station building process. So with that said, I want to say thank you for watching. Please hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave us some comments, and of course hit that notification bell to be alerted of upcoming videos. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.